to usually more like 25 or 30%. But yet we haven't seen that same competitive dynamic in Japan. And I think today it's fair to say, so what is one's interest in spending a lot of money to go into that market? Hey, if you can spend money to go into Russia, to go into South America, to go into China, that looks like a better investment for your shareholders.
Okay, so you made that decision. Look at China today. Tell me how that is as a market.
I mean, just amazing, Charlie. So we went into China in earnest in about '97. We set up a joint venture. We have to work there in joint ventures. The industry is about 1.5 million units. We sold about 60,000 units that year. Last year, the industry was 8.5 million units, and GM and our partners sold over 1 million units. So I don't know if there's been a place in the world in the history of GM where we've seen that kind of growth that rapidly, both in the market in total and our own performance. And the growth is continuing.
And what kind of cars are selling?
Full range. I mean, we sell everything from Cadillacs to we have an investment in a company called Wuling, which sells tiny vehicles, sort of pickup trucks and commercial vans that maybe cost $3,500. So and our major brand there is Buick, and now we've been really growing the Chevy brand, and both of those are doing well there. In fact, we sell more Buicks in China now than we do in the U.S.
How about Chevrolet?
Chevrolet, we brought.
Is it the Malibu or is it something else?
Chevrolet, they're generally be smaller cars, right. Although I don't rule out the possibility of the Malibu in the future. But Chevy, we brought it in later. I'd say Buick probably had 5-6 year head start, and it was clear to us that the market was going to be so big that we needed to segment it more so we could keep Buick positioned as we like it positioned, which is upmarket. So we brought in Chevy, and that has been growing very rapidly there. And by the way, in other markets around the world, Chevy is a very rapidly growing brand.
I want to talk about that because the global market is what's growing for you. While North American sales declined in the last quarter, international sales were up, yes?
Right, yeah. I mean, it's interesting where they are up as well, because we traditionally had a good position in Western Europe.
Right.
But the growth now is South America is just booming.
Let me come to Brazil. Take Russia a second.
Okay. Well, Russia's, so far this year, our sales are up 60% year over year in Russia.
And does it differ in terms of what they buy than what the Chinese buy?
Some different, some the same. We sell a lot of Chevy products, generally Chevy products produced in Korea by GM Daewoo, although we also import U.S. produced products, and we bring in products from Western Europe as well. And so we sell some Cadillacs, we sell some Hummers. Most of the sales would be, though, in compact and midsize cars. We've been in Brazil forever. I had a chance to spend a couple of stints in my own career there, so I've watched it kind of go up and down. But the economy is really doing very well now. A lot of the commodity-based things they produce are in demand around the world, particularly in China. So the auto industry is setting record levels, and our sales have been up over 20% this year.
And where do you build most of these cars?
Almost all that we sell in Brazil, we build in Brazil. We have 3 plant sites. Russia, a little different. We are opening up really our first wholly owned plant in St. Petersburg later on this year. So we actually import a lot into Russia, generally built in Korea, but some assembled in Eastern Europe and countries, former Soviet countries as well, Ukraine, places like that.
Now, is your principal competition overseas Toyota, or is it individual companies in those respective countries?
Varies very much from country to country. I think it's fair to say that Toyota is a relatively consistent presence, although growing more rapidly in China than they are in Brazil, for example. So just as we are relatively stronger in China than we are in India, some of our global competitors kind of have the same thing. Volkswagen is strong in China and Brazil. Some of the other countries not as strong. And then sometimes you get the local guys who are very good. A couple of the Indian companies have come along very well with some innovative ideas like Tata.
Yeah.
And some of the local manufacturers in China now are really scaling up. So you've really got to look at the market in the segment.
Tata reminds me of something that's happening in your business, which is they bought Land Rover, they bought Jaguar.
Yeah.
Chrysler had experience with Mercedes. You've had experience with Fiat. What's the status today of mergers and acquisitions in the auto industry?
I mean, it's fascinating because you look at other industries, particularly industries that are under pressure like the auto industry is generally globally, and with a huge technology investment over the next 10 years facing all of us. And the classical response would be some broader scale mergers and acquisitions. And yet, in our business, for some reason, by and large, they haven't worked.
Why?
I mean, you talked about I think it's culture. I do think that sort of unlike the U.S., a lot of countries really protect and nurture their own auto manufacturers, their champions. They think it's important for a variety of reasons, I guess.
National pride.
Yeah, everything else. And so there's a lot of things that weigh into that. But, you know, we've had some examples of success. You know, we bought Daewoo, but to be fair, I mean, we bought the assets of a bankrupt company. That's been a huge win for GM. But, you know, if you look back in our history, we've had some that have worked and some that haven't. And more recently, not us so much, but others, we've had cases where it looked like it made some sense, and then 5 or 10 years later, it turns out it didn't work out that well. So I myself don't rule it out, the prospect of more activities. Yeah, I mean, just the environment we're in would suggest we should see more of that. I've long talked about this for Europe, where there's a lot of good manufacturers, but almost nobody has more than 10% market share. And now they're going to have pressure to improve their CO2 emissions, and that's high-cost stuff. So it's classic environment for activity, but ask me to predict who and when, and I'll take a pass on it because I've been wrong.
Has Renault and Nissan worked out?
You have to talk to them. I think they have an unusual structure with, you know, just part ownership, and you know, they've certainly had some successes. Nissan had a nice turnaround. So I mean, I think you better talk to them about it. My take is they're facing many of the same issues the rest of the industry, and I don't think that their model has proven yet that they can adjust more quickly than the rest of the industry has been able to.
I asked that as a precondition to this question. Are we going to look at sharing of anything in terms of technology as you look at the future?
Yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of that, and that may be the answer as to why you don't see full-scale mergers. Maybe people are thinking, hey, it's easier if we cooperate together. And there's a reasonable amount of this that goes on. In Europe, sharing of diesel engines. We co-developed our hybrid system, our two-mode hybrid system with BMW and Daimler Chrysler. I think you're going to see more and more of that. And so let's say partnerships that are focused on technologies or products. We've had a lot of interest, for example, in people wanting to perhaps share the Chevy Volt down the road.
I was going to ask that. So what are you going to do when somebody comes in and says, I'd like to share with you, Rick, how about giving me everything you know about the Volt and what you've learned about battery technology and how we can share in an electric car?
Well, I think right now our response is we got to keep our heads down, focused on getting this Chevy Volt onto the road as soon as we can. But I don't rule out you know, cooperation around that technology in the future. I think today it's so important for us, both the product, because it's the right product for the right time, but in a way for the company as a whole, because it really talks about, hey, this is a can-do. Let's go take advantage of a great opportunity at a tough time. It's important for our company as a whole. So we want to keep focused on doing that, but I don't rule out down the road that there wouldn't be opportunities to share and leverage that knowledge.
How much does General Motors have, not in terms of dollars, but in terms of reputation, future, riding on the Volt?
I think it's gotten to be bigger than life force. I mean, it is really important. It's important because it's a rallying cry within the company to show, even in some tough financial times, our commitment to really drive the industry to the future, drive ourselves, but drive the industry. And second of all, I think it addresses an important point for this country and the world, which is we really do have to face the fact that after kind of 100 years of relying pretty much exclusively on petroleum as a source of energy to power automobiles, we're going to have to move to some new paradigms. And I think the Volt seems to, for whatever reason, kind of captured everyone's imagination around the world as kind of what the future could be. And in that sense, I think our Volt team feels a lot of responsibility to deliver on that promise. And the fact that it's all new technology, I mean, it's energizing in every sense.
How did it come about?